In this video, I give you my review of the Jesse Dean PT01 Scratch Fader. Find out what I think about it coming up. Thank you for watching PDot TV, where you find tips, tricks, and tutorials for DJs and music performers. Now let's get into the video. So a few months back, I purchased a Numark PT01 Scratch, and I have to say I really like this turntable. But the one glaring issue I had with it was the scratch switch that Numark installed on the new PT01 Scratch that differentiated it from the original PT01. But Jesse Dean has come through with his own custom fader to replace that switch with an actual fader, and I gotta say, this changes the game if you own a PT01 Scratch. Now, overall, the feel of it is really smooth. I love the way this thing cuts. It cuts really sharp, and what's really cool, just like the older Jesse Dean fader, it cuts on both sides, so you can come up with some crazy scratches with double cuts on either side and come up with some crazy combinations that aren't, possible on a regular crossfader. Also, the install was pretty simple as well. It just took a few steps, and DJ Swiftstyle did a really great install video that I'll go ahead and link down below that really walked you through the install process really clearly. All you really had to do was unscrew all the screws on the bottom. It was about 8 screws, I believe, and then unplug the ribbons between the top and the bottom of the actual turntable and just pull out one resistor, and then you're good to go. Then just go ahead and screw in the new crossfader and replace it with the old scratch switch, plug in the ribbon for that, plug in everything else, screw all the 8 screws that you removed back in, close that thing back up, and you're good to go. Have a great crossfader that cuts really well and is at least 10 to 100 times better than the scratch switch that the original PT01 Scratch came with. Now for $80, this thing costs almost the same price as the actual turntable itself, but I will say it's worth every penny. If you're serious about getting into portablism, the scratch switch isn't going to be enough. I mean, you can get some cuts on it, but it's really inconsistent, and I really hated the feel of it. I mean, maybe if you're starting off, it's a good starting point before you can save up and get this actual Jesse Dean PT01 Scratch fader, but it's really worth it in the end to put this fader into the PT01 Scratch. Just the overall feel and the way it cuts makes it more aligned with an actual turntablist setup of an actual, turntable and regular mixer, and the feel of it, in my opinion, is actually better than the older Jesse Dean crossfader. It feels a lot smoother, and just the overall response of it is great. And I've noticed on some of the old Jesse Dean faders, you got a little pop when you turn it on and off and you hit the click, and this does not have that at all, which is great. It's just a clean cut off and cut back in without any pops, and the sound quality is great. I didn't notice any difference in the actual audio quality even with this crossfader installed, so that's awesome as well. And like I said, just a few screws, a couple plugs, and removing one resistor, and you're good to go. Overall, the pros of this fader, I would say number one would be the easy install. In just a few minutes, you can have this thing installed and ready to go, and you can just get straight to cutting. Number two, I would say the cut-in is super sharp and a lot better than the actual scratch switch that comes standard on the PT01 Scratch. And number three would be the overall feel of the fader. It really gives you that turntablist feel of cutting on a mixer and turntable instead of a switch that kind of does this instead of going straight across like a normal crossfader. The only con I can think of is the price. At $80, like I mentioned before, it's almost the same price as the PT01 Scratch, but saving up is definitely worth the wait and worth the money to install this great scratch fader into your PT01 Scratch. So that's my review of the PT01 Scratch fader by Jesse Dean. So question today, does this make you want to get this fader installed in your PT01 Scratch? Go ahead and leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, if you found this video useful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click right here to subscribe to this channel. Or if you'd like to watch more content, go ahead and click on that video right there. And thank you for watching PDot TV, where you find tips, tricks, and tutorials for DJs and music performers. See you next time.